It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Renee Ritchie has the week off. Andy and Alex are here. We've got rumors about a new Mac Mini coming maybe even before WWDC. And the Mac world is agog with news about a new Apple charger. Yeah, hard to believe. Apple says, well, at least Mr. Gurman says, no blood watch pressure tool for this year, maybe not even for next year. And a new privacy browser for Mac just out. It's all coming up next and a lot more on MacBreak Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 813, recorded Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. Chicago Dave's AirPods. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Ultimate Ears Fits. Ultimate Ears Fits are the world's most comfortable earbuds with premium sound and all-day comfort. Use promo code MacBreak at ue.com/fits to get your pair. And by Expressvpn. Incognito does not mean invisible. If you really want to go incognito and protect your privacy, make yourself as invisible as possible. The #1 rated VPN, Expressvpn. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, visit expressvpn.com/MacBreak. And by ZocDoc. In the chaotic world of healthcare, let ZocDoc be your trusted guide to find a quality doctor in a way that's surprisingly pain-free. Go to ZocDoc.com/MacBreak and download the ZocDoc app for free. Start your search for a top-rated doctor. Many are available within 24 hours. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show where we cover the latest Apple news. Renee Ritchie has the day off, which usually means there's new Apple news. I don't know exactly why. I think maybe he's getting briefed on the new Final Cut Pro. He tweeted a little bit about that, so maybe that's what's going on. But we do have our usual stalwarts here from 090.media and officehours.global. Mr. Alex Lindsay. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Very good to see you.
Good to be here.
Yes. And Andy Anako, WGBH in Boston. Good to see you.
Hi there. As always.
15 minutes ago, we got this tweet, this cryptic tweet from Renee Ritchie. Final Cut Pro 10.6.2, dupe detector, ML background noise reduction, optimized for M1 and Max Ultra, which kind of would explain the benchmarks we were talking about Sunday from DP Review, which said, was it on MacBreak Weekly? No, I think it was Sunday from DP Review, which said that even in Final Cut, the Ultra wasn't much faster than the M1 Max. All the 8K, all of it, says Renee. Also compressor, also motion. I presume he means new releases of compressor and motion. Do you know anything about this, Alex?
I know nothing.
I know nothing?
No, I know nothing. I really don't. I don't have any inside information here. I have,
Yeah.
I think that when I'm talking so freely on another show like you, until I can talk about it, I don't want to know anything because I'll accidentally say it.
I never sign NDAs. Same thing. Yeah, because
I'm afraid. Well, we're talking about is stuff like Final Cut 2 hours a day at least, and I can get myself into so much trouble.
Yeah, it's not just here. That's right. Yeah, you got to have an office.
Yeah,
well, one thing you can tell the world, Apple has announced a new version of iMovie with some, I think, significant features. That's why they call it iMovie 3.0. Storyboards and Magic Movie are the things they are so excited about. This is not going to excite anybody like Alex because he's a trained professional.
Well, I mean, what I will say is that the big thing about Storyboard, I haven't seen the iMovie one, but the big thing is that for a lot of filmmakers, having something that they don't know how to use Final Cut and they don't know how to use something else, and being able to just throw storyboards together is a big thing because they're trying to think about a scene, and keeping it simple and easy to work with would be huge.
And of course, because it's Apple, you're going to choose from 20 different storyboard types. About me, celebration, cooking, day in the life, DIY, gaming, makeover. How it works, that's something some of our ilk might want to do, Q&A. There's a film storyboard, and this is what a storyboard looks like. You get to choose a style. And then I presume, let's see, this animation maybe is all about storyboard. Let's do this one. once you choose a style, then we're just watching the video on the Apple Newsroom site where they publish this stuff. And I guess, so really it's a backbone for people who, the problem with backbones is they tend to be cookie cutter, right? So you'll know immediately when you see something done in iMovie. On the other hand, that's fine for family, right?
Well, and also for schools. I mean, like the other thing is that when you think about a lot of these, being able to have a teacher not have to think about how I'm going to do the design, and the kids don't care. Like, I mean, if you're doing something good, they just want the content.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does point out to how different iMovie is as far as who's going to be using it and what they're using it for. You're not getting templates for here's how to do a birthday party, here's how to do a graduation celebration. It really is all about it's a component for the kids who are using iPads in education, who are giving their reports, giving their presentations in form of video, and also people who are trying to get started. They're influenced by all the videos they're watching on Twitch and on YouTube and on TikTok, and they want to start doing that themselves. Yeah. So this is it's interesting to think that now all of the home videos. I'm sorry, I know I'm stuttering a little bit. That all the home videos that we're doing are now basically just shot and edited directly on the phone, and iMovie has almost become an afterthought for what it was originally used for.
And the other thing is we do use templates a lot, except we call them recipes.
Right.
So it's not like if we had to come up with everything we were going to eat, it would take a long time. And that's the problem for a lot of people making media is they don't have any recipes.
Right.
It's like, here's some raw flour and salt, and you got to figure out what to do with it.
It'll be interesting. Apple doesn't say whether this capability is there, but it'd be interesting if third parties could provide storyboards.
Yeah.
There are 20 different new ones, as I mentioned. Each storyboard I'm reading from the press release has a shot list that organizes clips to tell a specific narrative. Each placeholder also includes an illustrative thumbnail along with a tip that asks a question or makes a suggestion for how to shoot that clip to make it more interesting. So it's just prompts, really.
And my again, it's like a recipe. This is just add the sugar and add this and so on and so forth. And you end up with a reasonably good is it going to get you a job at a Michelin restaurant? No.
Right.
But is it going to be a good meal that you can have every day? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that my kids for spring break. They were down with their grandmother, and what they do 3 times a week when they're there is go to the Apple store and learn something. And they made a trailer in the Apple store.
Oh, fun!
And they have a trailer template, and they just follow the trailer template. And it's really funny, and it's really good, and you don't need it to be any more than that.
Yeah, it's the 5th time or 6th time you've seen it, you might go, okay, but it's a start.
But again, training wheels and then you learn that, and then you go, as soon as you feel limited, you have a iMovie, you can just go do it yourself, and then all the tools are there for you to just keep on building. But it's great to give people.
As they say.
Yeah. We were just talking about that.
There's a second feature, Magic Movie, Apple says, helps create beautiful custom videos complete with titles, transitions, and music in a few taps. So what you'll do is you'll select an album or group of photos or images from your photo library. Magic Movie instantly, Apple says, identifies the best parts of the footage and creates the project. So it's kind of like Photos already has that kind of memories feature. Sounds like kind of memories on steroid.
I was amazed. I have never used the thing where basically if you scroll down every day, there's like a little picture of someone that you know.
Yeah.
And I've never tapped on it until yesterday. And I saw one of my daughters and said, hey, look, and I tapped on it. And it played like this great little movie. It found images and videos of her that I did not know were on the phone. It was like this random, that is so cool and so scary all at the same time.
But that's really the next big thing. One of the great advances of Google Photos and Apple Photos was we're always taking all these photos, and they kind of we're backing them up diligently, but we're not doing anything with them. And so Google Photos and Apple Photos occasionally resurfaces old photos, not only just saying, oh, here's what you're doing 5 years ago today, but also here's images around the theme of your family during springtime. Right. And you suddenly realize these things. So imagine once it becomes less expensive to do this kind of processing on every single video that hits the server, imagine how cool it's going to be when all those things not only get resurfaced, but also get repackaged into an automatically edited video with a share button that's already preloaded underneath it for you. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And I can say, just using the albums inside of my photos library, I have pictures of the family, tons of them, that I just throw into that folder. And then anytime my TV goes to sleep, they're all there. My wife loves that.
Another nice feature.
And I have another one of production that I have here on one of my screens. So anytime my computer goes to sleep, I look over and there's all these memories of all the, sometimes PTSD, but mostly
gotta be
good
careful
memories.
with that, of course.
You use albums and put things in the albums that you want.
It looks like you can rearrange your delete. It's very similar. It looks like to the For You tab in iPhoto. Styles can be added to change the look and feel of a video, like storyboard videos. Magic movies can be shared from iMovie via messages, mail, and on social media. So. This is one of those things, this Final Cut and iMovie, probably coincidental. They're both released at the same time, or no? You think they're related? I doubt it's the same team.
Yeah, well, they're refreshing a lot of things. Remember, they also refreshed Pages. I think the first pretty big change they've made on Pages in a while. Mostly by adding scripting, but some other things too. I mean, it's easy. I really do think that every time you see updates to Apple's free apps like that, it really is all about education and rather than about actual consumers. So I think that really shows how serious they are still about education.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a couple of news items today on MacBreak Weekly. How exciting is that? So we'll keep an eye, and I'm sure when Renee is back, probably next week, he can tell us more about Final Cut Pro 10.6.2. I'm guessing that's where he is right now. I'm just guessing. Either that or he's just playing with it. Could be.
Yeah.
Not sure. There are rumors afloat, including today, something about a new Mac Mini. Our favorite digger, Steve Troughton Smith, tweeted today, the rumor is a little unclear as to what new Macs are imminent. For what it's worth, there is one concrete clue. The shipping studio display firmware. Holy cow. The firmware on the new studio display references an unaccounted for mystery machine.
Yep.
Mac Mini 10,1. And Troughton guesses, probably accurately, I would guess, an M2. There have been rumors, too, about an M1 Pro or even an M2 Pro. So,
yeah.
Maybe
it's really going to...
Maybe he says, I'm going to revise the guess before it gets baked in. A Mac Mini 10,X with both M1 Pro and M1 Max. See, I know it's true. You know how I know it's true? I just bought a Mac Mini M1.
There you go. You are the Schrodinger of the Apple industry. Like, as soon as Leo's MasterCard observes something that causes all the realities to resolve.
I did it. It's my fault.
But yeah, I'm really kind of at a loss to figure out how they're going to position the Mac Mini in a world in which the Mac Studio exists. Because as I said at the time when the Mac Studio was first released, this is pretty much everything I was looking forward to and wanting in an updated Mac Mini. Meaning I want more ports, I want more power, I want the ability to, even as a build to order, to get more storage and all that other cool stuff. I'm not sure what would happen if a Mac Mini that had the same sort of think about the changes they made between the MacBook Pro, the first M1. Again, the basic proof of concept. All we did was put the same chipset in both the MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, and the Mac Mini. The first time M1 came upon the scene. Now imagine the leap they made between that MacBook Pro and the current MacBook Pro, which was like into a much higher orbit, low Earth orbit to high Earth orbit. Now, I would imagine that the next step up, the natural step up for the Mac Mini would be to make the same sort of transition, meaning again more built to order options, more connectivity, more screens, all that kind of cool stuff. But that seemed to be everything that they gave us with the Mac Studio. So I don't know if they're going to start saying that the Mac Mini is sort of the nerdier version of a more powerful desktop Mac, or if they're going to basically keep it as this is the one that you can absolutely afford. We're going to keep the price line really, really low, so it's a low barrier to entry.
It is odd, isn't it? Because they don't. There's not, because the Mini and the Studio look so much alike. There's not that much distinction. Maybe price will be the ultimate distinction.
Well, it needs so much cooling.
Yeah, the cooling, and I think that there's a lot of. I mean, I don't know if they'd put. It'd be interesting to see. I think they can't put either the Ultra or the Max in there. Maybe the Max, but not because it's already being used in the laptop. So, but the Ultra probably can't go into that package, and so I think that it's going to be really interesting. I don't think that they're going to try to hold back too much in the Mac Mini, trying to differentiate products. I think they just want to put out the products that are as fast as they can put out in that package, in that form factor, because I think that they're in kind of a competitive area where they have a lot of advantages. And the Mac Mini still has, a ton of utility. I mean, now the M1s are just amazing, and being able to rack them is distinct from the Studio. Really is something you're going to put on your desk. The Mac Minis, being able to put two of them into every 1U that you have somewhere. I mean, we've in the past with even the older ones had as many as 10 or 12 of them, all in just racks, that we could use for processing. So it's really powerful.
I bought the Mini because I wanted to replace my 2014 iMac in my other studio, and I realized, having already bought the Mac Studio, that I didn't need all that. The M1 single core was the same across the board, so I didn't need to spend $3,000 on a Studio, or even $2,500 on a Studio. So I bought I think I upgraded the RAM, so it ended up being $700 or $800. But I ended up buying a Mac Mini and pairing it with my own monitor, and it's been great. It's been really good. Yeah. The only issue I had was getting the dual display working, because it has HDMI, and then the trick, which everybody knows, I think, but you got to get something that'll take that Thunderbolt port to DisplayPort, and we were using adapters, which I think were just Thunderbolt 2 adapters. I don't know what was going on, but it just wouldn't work. So finally, I just went and bought a Type-C Thunderbolt. I guess it's Thunderbolt 3 to full-size DisplayPort, and that works fine. It also gives me the refresh rate that I wanted. So that's a little caveat with the old M1 Mac Mini, but a very nice machine. And I, using the Studio at home, the M1 MacBook Pro at home, the Pro, I guess it's M1 Pro, and the M1 nothing at work, they're all the same. I don't notice a huge difference in speed for the things that I do. So I think that's probably a good thing to know. M2, as Renee has told us, would probably be an A15 based processor, same processor used in the iPhone 13 these days. I'm not sure what that would get you, though, in terms of speed. Any thoughts?
We have to find.
We'll find out. Yeah.
More. It depends on how many cores and so on and so forth that are there. I mean, that's going to be the big thing.
They're not going to modify too much the A15. I mean, they didn't modify the A14 all that much.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not just the processor design. It really is all the stuff that you put around it.
Yeah, the system on a chip. Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, I have to admit, I finally started doing some Apple ProRes stuff on my Studio. I got the Studio Max, and it rendered the first thing so fast that I thought something was wrong with the file.
That's a nice feeling.
It was like this 4K render, and I put it out of motion, and I looked over, I looked back, and I was doing something. I looked back, and I was like, what? And it was, and I opened the file expecting it to be broken, and it was fine. I was just like, wow, okay. So I've stopped doing, I was doing some production. It was nice to have some other machine doing the production while I was working on other things. And I'm like the Ultra, I was just like, okay, that's doing all the work. From now on, I'm not going to hand it off to the other computers.
When the A15 came out, there were a number of sites that did benchmarks and stuff. And again, these synthetic benchmarks, I really hate to use them. Yeah. But there's definitely a difference. It's not so much in single core performance, but in GPU performance, battery life, not so much. So, there are some differences, maybe not massive differences. So it may really well be the system on a chip and how that's conformed that makes the big difference between M1 and M2. Well, we just have to wait and see. I wonder, though, with all this noise and all this stuff going on, if it may not, and the fact that Renee's not here, they may not wait, you think, to WWDC. They may slipstream this one out. You think?
They very well could. They've done that in the past with computers. I mean, although they're getting close enough to WWDC, it kind of feels
2 months. That's a long time.
Depends on what. I think it would tell us what if they had a big announcement for WWDC. Let's say that they're close enough with some kind of AR thing. they may put things out early to get them out of the way because they just want to focus on the one. Like this is, whenever they end up doing some kind of AR, real AR execution, I think they're going to want to clear the deck. Like they're not going to want to have a bunch of other things they're announcing, during that, because this is going to be the biggest thing that they've done since the iPhone.
Right. It's no fun being a tea leaf watcher. We just and yet it's also no fun waiting on tenterhooks to see. You mentioned an update for what I used to call iWork, Pages, Keynote, and Numbers. That came out a few days ago as well, version 12.0. For Numbers, copy a snapshot of table cells without form. Edit font size more precise. Create formulas quickly. You can use VoiceOver. on
It looked like automation was the thing that they added.
Automation. Pages. Improvements for publishing books with larger file sizes. You can now go up to 2 gigabytes. Insert page numbers anywhere. Edit font size more. It's a lot of small things. But you mentioned, Andy, that they're more scriptable.
Yeah, now you can create you can create documents. It works with workflows a lot better. It's not nothing magical. It's I was reading through like what it's capable of doing now that it wasn't able to do before, and we're talking about some pretty basic stuff. But in terms of using Pages as a way of like a classroom being able to create different versions of templates for individual students, that's now very, very doable. In terms of being able to collect data from other sensors from outside the Mac and basically build reports automatically, that's very, very doable. Again, I'm kind of prejudiced in that if we were talking about something closer to Microsoft Office, I would be thinking about, well, there are a lot of jobs that entail creating standardized reports from basically data that can be simply slurped in from sensors and from other servers, and that's what a lot of automation is used for. Here, I keep thinking about how will this assist people in education. It seems like a simple bit of changes, again, not revolutionary, but just the ability to do things you couldn't do before with automation is a pretty big deal. I'm surprised that this stuff wasn't in there from 2 years ago when they first acquired workflows.
Yeah. Nice. That'll be very nice. I do notice, by the way, a lot of sale prices right now on the Mac Mini. Of course, maybe I'm noticing that because I just bought one again.
Yeah.
But I do notice there are discounts up to $300 if you shop around. So maybe that is an indication that a new Mac Mini is on its way. I don't know. Maybe they're clearing the decks.
Yeah, it's especially notable when Apple does it because they don't. This isn't a case where people can wind up with lots more stock than they anticipated.
Yeah.
This really is like a made to order, sold to order thing. So the fact that if retailers are offering really good discounts on Apple hardware, it's because Apple has offered those retailers a huge discount on acquiring them, which means that, which leads one to suspect that Apple really is trying to clear the decks.
Or they just saw that I bought one and they want to really stick it to me.
Trying to zip, you hold up one laptop at one keynote.
For the rest of your life, hounded. This says more about you, Apple, than it says about Leo at this point. Incidentally, if you're having trouble updating your Studio Display firmware, I think the note from Renee said, I can't join the show today. I'm trying to update my iOS and my Studio Display. That actually was a problem, but they have fixed it. But they did not fix the camera. Don't get your hopes up. But there is an update to firmware 15.4. It's almost as if they updated iOS and they forgot the Studio Display, and they said, oh, here. And then a lot of people, and I saw this all over the place, said, the update can't be completed. There's a problem for some reason. It does now work. It does not fix the webcam. Apple says they're still working on that fix. We don't know what the new firmware does, except that maybe it's just they're trying to keep it on parity with everything else, I guess, right?
I would say it's not coming out as smoothly as they. It's very much a version one. Like that's like with any hardware, it's really hard until people start banging on it. But I think that this is oftentimes Apple gets it has a little rough time with the very first versions.
Kind of glad I didn't buy it, to be honest with you. I canceled that order. I'm kind of glad.
It got, yeah. I only this week I start thinking that we all know that whenever Apple or any other company is preparing to ship out a product, they're always, as the day and date looms, there's the list of when they find problems. Some are on the deal breaker list. I mean, we absolutely cannot ship with this fault intact. And then there are the ones that are like, okay, this is bad, but it doesn't turf the product. We can ship it and then apply a patch like later on and fix this little problem. Now that you have a monitor, a screen that runs iOS, how many basic features are being fed by iOS, and now how many times are they going to be shipping a piece of hardware that says that, you know what, the camera stinks, but you know what, we can fix that in a month. Let's meet our target ship date. I wonder if that's going to be the vector for this product moving forward.
Yeah. Scooter X is saying what happened is they accidentally stopped signing 15.4 when 15.4.1 came out. That's the version on the display. So that's why they had to quickly update it. And then that's why the update didn't work, but it is working now. So there you go.
Hoisted by your own petard. How ironic.
They're also noting in the chat room, and this is really interesting. If you customize your Mac Studio at this point, if you do any BTO options, 10 to 12 weeks for delivery. 10 to 12 weeks. They're not even giving you a date, really. Well, actually, here's a date if I pick it up in the store. July 21st. Holy cow.
I'm not sure that I have had so many friends buy the same computer at the same time ever before. Maybe when the new iMac or the new Mac Pros came out, like that weren't all messed up. I think that might have been where a lot of us were kind of hanging on for a while and jumped over. But I think that there's a lot of pent up demand for this, and I think it's a good in between. And I think that the interesting thing is it's so powerful. I think only a handful of people are really going to need the Pro.
Right.
If you get this,
the Max, you mean? Or the Ultra, you mean?
Well, what I'm saying is the Pro in the
Max
fall. I think
right.
If people went down the path with an Ultra, I think there's going to be a little bit of a, well, they'll be happy for a while. I mean, we always run out of room. I mean, we always want something faster eventually, but I think this is going to be a very serviceable computer for a very long time. It's really powerful.
Yeah. Well, kind of confirming that while overall PC sales dropped in the first quarter of the year, Apple Mac sales grew exactly the opposite direction. And there's two different analysts reporting this. On Sunday, IDC said the global PC market shrank in Q1, but Apple continued to see growth. Gartner said Apple shipped 7 million Macs. Again, always an estimate. Apple doesn't say. Macs and MacBooks in the first quarter, which is a year-on-year rise from 6.4 million a year ago of 8.6%. IDC said 7.2 million. That's a 4.3% year-on-year increase of their number. So Apple market share. Can I have a drum roll for this? We're going to look at the tote board. Apple market share is now 9%.
Hey.
9% in the PC market.
High single digits. Very nice.
Well, I remember the day when it was 4%. Last year it was 7.7%. So, but that confirms exactly what your anecdotal report is, Alex, which is,
and I think
people are not buying PCs. Lenovo down 12.6%, HP down 17%.
I'd love to see someone peel. I'd love to see someone try. I don't know how you get this data, but I would love to see someone peel out personal purchases versus corporate purchases. Yeah. Because I think that skews everything towards the PC. The corporate, is kind of leaning that direction. Although, in a lot of companies, there is, when you work in some companies, all you see are Macs. So it just depends. Like especially when the users get to choose. So when the employees get to choose what they're going to buy or what they're going to get from the store, whatever the company store, you see a lot of Macs, a lot of MacBook Pros.
Yeah, that's why I think it's easy to read too much into a stat like this. It is significant, but I think the Mac market is the Mac market, and the PC market is the PC market. That there are way more forces that apply to the purchasing decision inside the Windows space than it does in Apple. Apple could release a brand new Mac that is radically different from the previous ones, and that will absolutely explode sales. It doesn't necessarily mean it's more interesting to look at numbers about how many Windows shops are turning into Mac shops, how many Windows consumers are turning into Mac consumers.
Yeah. It also, I mean, let's be fair, it shows how well Apple is marketing it and has created a product people want. Whether, I mean, and I think, people are excited about Apple Silicon. That's for sure. I think they like the form factor, which is maybe a little surprising. Apple probably thought, let's wait and see how they like this Fat Boy. But the Fat Boy's nice. Fat Boy's a good choice. Works well.
And I think just a lot of people like things that just work. They don't have to be, they just, there's, I know that I always get people arguing with me, but I have, PCs and Macs and there's something that turn on. The Mac just turns on and works. And the PCs, there's literally always something with that PC.
I think some of it is I think some of it is people not liking Windows. Microsoft's getting the worst reputation in the market.
I'm going to force how I stopped using Oculus was that, I kept on getting updates from Microsoft, and then it would break Oculus, and then I couldn't use it, and then I'd put it down and come back to it, and I was just like, okay, enough. And I just took it apart and took it out of my office because I was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
And I waited for the Quest to show up so I didn't have to have a PC.
Right.
So
just to play devil's advocate, that's been true for a long time. And if Mac were gaining on Windows because the thing just works, we'd be in the 20% margin. We'd be in the 20-30% margin.
That's a good point. So, Windows
I think
just works less though than ever before. So
no, I think the thing is that we all kind of knew that our computers aren't as fast and they're not quite as, they're not as sporty. They don't do 0 to 60 in 2.6 or whatever, but they're comfortable and they work, and when I turn it's always there. And so I think that one of the big changes is Apple really got the performance working. You end up with people, I don't think this is the only reason, but there was a lot of things that were kind of holding Apple back because of the performance, where we would put up with it not being as fast for ease of use, but now you don't really have to do that. And I think that is going to keep on expanding, what they're using. Yeah. And I think that also just continuing fragmentation of the market across Android and Windows just makes everything hard for everybody, and so that fragmented market is just a really hard thing to develop for. It's a hard thing to use. It's a hard thing to have things work. And that's something that you don't see as much on the Mac platform, and people finally just get tired of it.
Reporting over from the other side, because I do a show called Windows Weekly, there is a definite move afoot. Microsoft desperately trying to get some parity with Apple's continuity features. They have something called Your Phone, which they've now renamed My Phone, which
make your decision. Make a decision. Make a decision. Whose phone is it?
Is confusing. Whose phone is it anyway?
Yeah. Wait a minute. If Microsoft is calling Your Phone My Phone, aren't they saying that My Phone is their phone? Their phone's my phone.
Whose phone is it? So, but what it will do is show your Android phone, and it only, unfortunately, works well with Samsung. But anyway, I have a Samsung, so I can see it. Shows your Samsung screen on the window. Notifications, messages come in. It has continuity-style clipboard, parity. You can run, this is kind of cool. You can run Android apps from the Samsung phone in a VM. But you don't know it's a VM, but that's, I think, what is happening on your Windows machine, so you can actually get your Android apps running. Microsoft has said we're going to add the Android store, Amazon's Android store, to our Microsoft store. So they definitely, it's hard because they don't own Android, but they definitely want to have that kind of compatibility between phone and desktop.
And the problem is that both platforms are fragmented. So who's using what?
Right.
And then because you don't own all the pieces.
Right.
And this is where Apple is really forcing everybody to play a game that they can only, it's like, I am the only one with the bat and I'm the only one with the glove, but let's all play together and see how this turns out.
Well, it's definitely Microsoft saying, that's something people want. And I guess we're going to have to try to figure out how to make it work. But since they don't make a phone, well, they kind of do, but...
It's not as big a deal as that, though, because if you look at the market ownership, Samsung essentially is Android. I mean, when an Android fan talks about, but at least on Android we have choice.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, but it really is like almost every phone sold in the United States and across the world is a Samsung
totally
phone.
Dominant.
And when you get down to number 2, now you have Google's phone, the one that they make themselves, and then there's a big drop off for number 3.
Right.
So if you do just target Samsung, you're certainly targeting all the phones that are in a business person's pocket. And so if you're talking about a company that's running enterprise apps and you want to be able to run that on the desktop as well, that will serve that will do for Microsoft. So long as it makes their business users happy, as long as it keeps them buying Microsoft services, that's good for them.
The hard part is there's just so many companies that aren't upgrading. They're not upgrading their devices. They're not upgrading their computers, and so you just get into this situation where there's a huge number of computers out there that won't work with, and no one's doing anything about it.
Let's take a little break, and when we come back, Apple is coming back to work, that is. But first...
Or else.
Yeah, or else. It's really interesting to watch companies struggle with this. Come back, please. Come back, you must. Look at this. This is such a cute little, soft, rounded little box. These are my ultimate ears, my UE Fits, which are my favorite new earbuds. Now, I got to tell you, I, for years in television and here on the podcast, have worn custom-fitted in-ear monitors. A lot of TV people do, too. But the problem with this is expensive. You have to go to an audiologist who pours some weird silicone stuff into your ear. You have to sit there. I actually had to hold popsicle sticks in my mouth so I would neither open nor close my mouth fully, kind of over your ear, and you sit there for like 3 or 4 minutes while it hardens, and then they have a string on it and they pull it out with the most appalling suction sound in your ear, and all that to make a mold for in-ear monitors. Wouldn't it be cool, though? I mean, the nice thing about in-ear monitors that are molded is they're custom. They fit your ear. They're perfect. Wouldn't it be nice if you could do the same thing without all that trouble and expense? You can. These are my new Ultimate Ear UE Fits, which show the video. This is the wildest thing. You take them out. Now, they're sealed when you get them in the box. So no light can be exposed to them. Once you open them up, now you put them in your ear, and you have to use the app to do this. You press a button. It's called Lightform technology. They warm up a little bit, not a lot. They don't get hot, and they will mold themselves to your ear. I've never had, except for these, audiologist molded earbuds. See, there it is. It's molding it to my ear, and it fits perfectly. Now, I'll tell you, there are a couple of reasons you want this. With earbuds, the better the seal, the better the bass, the better the sound. And these seal beautifully. They also seal out all the ugly noise around you. So that's kind of called passive background noise, reduction. Although this will also they have EQ presets. They have all sorts of tricks to give you really good sound. Of course, many, many musicians use Ultimate Ears with the molded earbuds. Now you can do it yourself. And wait till you see the price on these. They're really quite remarkable. Earbuds that fit you. The second reason you want them to fit you is because no one else can steal them, which is always a good thing. And they stay put. You can shake your head like crazy. Plus, they're super comfortable. So I guess that's 4 reasons why you want these. Using the groundbreaking Lightform technology, Ultimate Ears Fits mold to the unique contours of your ears. You put them in, you connect to the app. You watch the purple LEDs form the earbuds to your unique shape. Just some other specs, 8 hours of continuous playback on a charge. The charging case gives you up to 20 hours total. You've got play, pause, answer calls. Yes, it has a mic. That's that kind of tip there. It has a free app to set custom actions. You could choose your voice assistant, your volume adjustments, and more. And they're fantastic. Now, I have to say, when you get my custom molded ears that I'm wearing right now, you cannot return them because they're your ears. With Ultimate Ears, they know people want, so they got a 30-day money-back guarantee. Even though they have been molded to your ears, a 30-day money-back guarantee. Free shipping, free returns, and a 1-year warranty. These work with everything you've got. They're my favorite now in-ear earbuds. Much more comfortable than the other guys. And actually, they cost less. UE.com/fits to find out more. These are my new favorite earbuds. I think this is brilliant. What an amazing innovation. And I'll tell you what, I'm wearing in one ear the Ultimate Ears that were custom molded in my right ear. In the left ear, I'm wearing my UE Fits. These are more comfortable. I actually prefer these. If I could figure out a way to get these to work with the studio, I'd probably be wearing these. UE Ultimate Ears Fits. Get them at ue.com/fits. Highly recommended. Use the promo code MacBreak right now to let them know you saw it here. MacBreak is the promo code. Please use that. ue.com/fits. I'm telling you, you're going to love these. Everybody I know who has them now loves them. Apple's coming back to work. Today's the day. Woohoo! In-person work began actually Monday. Apple set the date, changed the date, set the date, changed the date, but officially April 11th was set last month for return in person. Corporate employees are now required to work at least in person 1 day a week. May 2nd, they'll have to go 2 days a week. They're gradually easing you in. May 23, 3 days a week. However, I'm not sure if they're ever going to get to 4 and 5 days a week. This is their new hybrid work plan. Tim Cook says it's a pilot, so they may change it. We don't know.
So everyone will be there from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yeah, you want to have long weekends, right? We changed to a 4-day work week, but we're still hybrid. People can, if they feel uncomfortable coming in, can stay home. So it's nice when everybody. I have to say, it's nice when everybody is in the studio together. I like that.
Yeah. It's got to be tough, but also because one of the problems of getting employees back in is that do they have their childcare lined up again after 2 years of basically having their kids at home, and there are people who how are you going to keep them down in the office after they've tasted the joys of, you know what, I'm getting so much more done and I'm no longer stressing out, and and I mean the ability to having to have a dental appointment not screwing up my entire week is such a boon, et cetera, et cetera. So it's amazing how every single company is facing this kind of pushback, and they're basically having to threaten and treat their employees to come back to the actual office.
And the hard part is a lot of employees are they're prepping to leave if they're getting forced to come back. They're just, they're looking for the right opportunity at that point. And, and I think that's the hard part of forcing them to come back is going to be, it's just going to be more expensive to hold on to the talent. So you can see them throwing, they'll be throwing more stock at people. They'll be throwing higher salaries at people. They're going to have to, because there's a lot of people that don't want to be there, and then there's tons that will want to come in. They don't have the other side of this is that in Silicon Valley, a lot of people bought apartments, or not bought, but leased apartments, leased houses that were designed around the idea that they're going to be at the office all the time. They're going to be workaholics. And so for them, they're ready to come back, because at home, they're really stuck in a small little box, and so I think that there are people that want to come back. It's not that nobody wants to come back, but there's a solid probably 20 or 30% that don't.
Yeah, that conversion van isn't quite so enticing when you actually have to spend 18 hours a day and get all your work done in that same place with your spouse.
I had a friend that halfway through COVID just moved back to where they had a house because it was just like they were in this little box because they were always working or always traveling, and suddenly that wasn't the case, and it was no longer sufficient.
Well, you're never going back into an office, right, Alex?
Probably not. No. I can see myself going to an office. If I was doing the right thing, I might go to the office for a couple days a week or something like that. Or, if it needed to be, there are things that you need to do in an office. Yeah. There's things that I work on that you need to see it with what you're working on. You need to look at what's actually happening on use hardware that I don't have at the house or at our studio. But I go into our studio now. We're doing a lot of work there right now, and so I'm there 3 or 4 days a week. So when I say that, but I'm not there the whole day. I come in the afternoon and kind of work with everybody on what we're doing, and then there's just some days that I'm there the whole time.
Yeah. Here's from Bloomberg. A week before its tribute to remote work, Apple gave its own workers a timeline by which they'd have to return to the offices. To some, including the 7,500 of Apple's 165,000 employees who belong to a Slack room dedicated to advocating for remote work, it was bruising. They are trolling us, right? One wrote. Others called the ad distasteful and insulting. The underlying message: Apple knows corporate employees using its product as tools can capably work from home, so why can't its own staff? Some people will not come in. I really think that's.
Well, I don't know. Again, what I've heard mostly is not at Apple, but at other companies, is that they're not saying I'm not going to come in. What they're looking for is an opportune place to go. And so and again, they're not quitting or holding. A lot of them aren't. They're just looking for somewhere to go next. And they're kind of much more open. And it's a really hard. That's almost worse in some ways because having employees that are 1 foot in, 1 foot out is it's not as very productive, because, and they're constantly looking at every person they meet. They're looking at, well, maybe I would go jump at that company and maybe I jump over here.
Part of the problem, of course, though, is some employees who are productivity focused hate all the meetings and the nut jobs who come over and bother you at your cubicle and suck all your attention away. And there's things about and there are plenty of people who say, "Oh, I miss that. I love that." But there is some percentage, and I don't know what it is, of people who say, "I am much more productive at home." And to add on top of this, the cost of gas these days, the commute is getting to be something nobody wants to do. So.
Well, and the thing is that I think 90% of the managers love to be able to yell over and ask questions to the engineers, and 90% of the engineers would like to be left alone.
Managers want it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's also this issue. We built this giant donut. We got to have some people in it.
I think that the big thing with the donut is that there's all that open. A big reason I think that employees don't want to go back is the open office. The open office concept was a disaster.
I agree.
It was the dumbest. It was done to save money, and it was justified by saying everyone's going to collaborate more. But it was done to pack more people into a smaller space.
Right.
And the thing is that people just hate it. Like they hate it, and they hate just always feeling like there's someone right over your shoulder, and always feeling like it's not something that they enjoy. And you constantly see people they pick up the phone and they go walk somewhere else and they go talk, because it might be security, it might be personal, it might be whatever, but they're constantly walking away from their desk because they just don't want to deal with that. And so it's just not it was never very good. And I think that you could take a lot of these buildings that less people want to come back to and make them into either cubicles or offices, all together, and more people would want to come back if they had their own office and they had, that's a compelling thing to do, because now it's a quiet time instead of being at home with the kids. And I will say, I'm saying that for a lot of people. During COVID, I was in my happy space. My wife was working at home. My kids were home.
Most
from
of
school.
the people,
who loved having lunch with everybody.
Everybody who works on Twit, all the broadcast ones, we're all working at home. I'm the only one who comes in to the studio because I guess I'm that weirdo. Of course, I only like it because there was no one here. So in a way, this was my home. It just had better equipment. But all of you and Andy and Paul and Mary Jo and all of our hosts work from home have been for years. So this was just business as usual.
And I think that the problem that I have now is that I've scheduled my life so tightly that driving somewhere is a thing. Like it's like suddenly it's just like, oh my gosh, I don't know how am I going to deal with all this time that I'm losing by being in a car, Well, yeah, not to mention $6 a gallon or something. And I do lose all of the practice time of singing Stone Temple Pilots, but
that's a good point. Yeah, there is a downside.
My development of Interstate Love Song now has been stalled. It was stalled.
You're getting so good too. I hear.
I know exactly.
Apple is, according to Mark Gurman, gonna bail on blood pressure for the Apple Watch this year. Next year, maybe, or even maybe 2025, according to people with knowledge of the matter. This is what Gurman writes. The company has teams working on an updated sensor and software for the Apple Watch that would determine if a user has high blood pressure, but accuracy has been a challenge during testing. I think they probably watched the Dropout, and they realized that there's some risk in telling people they have high blood pressure if they don't. I don't know.
Well, anytime you see Apple having trouble, you realize this is a hard problem. Yeah, this is not easy.
Now, blood pressure and blood sugar are are two of the
Holy
biggest
grail.
prizes in wearable, right?
Yep.
And there's, in terms of blood pressure, as far as technologies, that the last time I was taking a look at this a couple of months ago, the only one that has a lot of research behind it, a lot of faith behind it, is this idea of you're imaging not pulse but wavelets inside the bloodstream, and look at the periodic nature of it, and that can give you a very, very good sense of changes in blood pressure. But even that sensor right now, there's more faith in not being able to give an accurate reading, but to simply have a dashboard light that says, hey, your blood pressure has changed quite dramatically during this time period. And even in the discussion in papers that I've been reading about this, even that would be very, very useful to not simply say, hey, warning, your blood pressure is way, way high, but simply while you sleep during the day, over the course of weeks and weeks and weeks, saying, here is our period, your blood pressure appears to be inconsistent. We noted 8 different events in which your blood pressure dropped way, way low or went way, way high. But certification and reliability is really, really the big deal. Fitbit only recently got certification for ECG, for arrhythmia detection on their own devices, even though they've had sensors that are pretty much capable of it for the past few years now.
Yeah, the way the Apple Watch and all these devices measures, they kind of shine a light into your blood vessels, right? That's what that green light is. And I'm guessing more and more as we do these quantified self-measurements, they're going to rely on machine learning. They're going to say, okay, here's all the readings we got from these 5,000 people. Here's their actual blood pressure cuff measurements using a sphygmomanometer, doing it right. See if you can correlate. And if you can't, then you're screwed because they're not measuring real blood pressure. They're trying to correlate these wavelets with actual blood pressure. And if there isn't a correlation, if machine learning can't do it, you're exactly right. For instance, heart rate variability is easy because they can measure the pulse. They see the pulse. They know the pulse is working. So a lot of things are. I just got an alert that my heart rate variability is gone way down over the last 8 days. Whether that means anything, I don't know. ECG, I guess again, you're measuring the various electrical signals from the heart that they can measure, right? So I think some things are hard, and blood sugar, of course, hardest of all, without actually dipping into the blood and getting some.
Yeah, that's why if you have diabetes, there are wonderful sensors, but they involve like once a month, like sort of shooting this filament into your arm that makes the radio connection, does the actual blood sensor blood reading, and actually sends it to the device. The last time I did a really in-depth look into seeing whether or not this was actually feasible was last year, and this is still kind of a moonshot sort of thing.
Yeah.
There are some studies that say that, hey, there seems to be something there in terms of being able to photo image a blood vessel and get some idea of blood sugar from that, but it's basically a roadmap towards research as opposed to a roadmap towards a working sensor.
According to Gurman, the feature has been planned for at least 4 years, but it's probably 2 years away from hitting the market. It may even slip until 2025, which means they don't know.
Right.
I mean, I watched the Theranos show. I know. They don't know. It doesn't, she's saying Walgreens, December. Can we do it in December? I don't know.
It's complicated when you have something that could kill someone or have them make a bunch of bad
decisions. You don't want to make a mistake. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even now, I'll be watching I get these warnings from my watch. I'll be watching a Steeler game, and they'll say, your heart rate's really high, but you're seated. Are you okay? It's like, I'm fine.
That's a useful one. I'm just a little excited. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I just wish the defense, I wish they fixed their safety problem.
Did anybody watch Apple's first Friday night baseball last Friday?
Did we?
No.
Yeah, we did.
What'd you think?
The announcing was really bad.
Awful.
It was just awful. And I thought we talked about this. Wasn't that 2 weeks ago, or did we talk about it?
No, it was last. It was April 8th. It was the first one
on our show.
Maybe.
So the I think that the announcing was just like people weren't. It was like listening to someone who didn't really care about the game. I think that was the issue. There was just lots of chatter. It was like going with your friends that aren't really into the game and having them talk amongst themselves and sometimes interact with the game and sometimes not. And so I think that I only watched about 20 minutes of it. That's about all I could take. And so I think that it was, I mean, you get started and you're experimenting, and, I think that they're trying to match certain targets and so on and so forth. And so they're trying to figure that out, but it was not a good thing. And I did like I thought there's a lot of complaints about the graphics. I thought the graphics were, I liked
them. So they're doing a very simple, and by the way, if you have Apple TV Plus, you could still watch the games, and they also have a lot of extra highlights and features during the week, but you could still watch, at least because I missed the game live, but I watched it later. Apple's very much changing the style of presentation. They've got, I think, very simple, clean graphics. What I didn't like, Alex, was they kept playing cheesy stock background music every time they pulled a graphic up. That's not
need that.
What the hell is that all about? I see that a lot with millennials and younger, where we used to call it the MTV generation. Obviously, it's not that anymore. But it's like we don't trust your attention span. So if we're showing a graphic, we're just gonna play some music so you feel good, because we just don't trust that you're gonna be, you're gonna change the channel. Or I don't understand it. And everything, it's a YouTube. Maybe it's a YouTube generation. Everything does it now. There's lots of background music behind stuff, and I'm not a big fan of that. And baseball, the background music is the roar of the crowd, the guy saying "be here," the crack of the bat, the smell of the pine tar. That's
And I think that there's such an opportunity for multiple streams of audio. We were talking about this on Office Hours.
We did talk about that. We were talking last week about what they might do.
Possibility.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see them, but I'd love to see them get aggressive about making it customizable, at least through the audio. And I will tell you, I've had the opportunity to watch some games where I'm listening to the comms and watching the multi-view of the that the truck's using, and I could watch that all it's an entirely different experience.
Really experiment.
I'd pay money for that, because you can just listen to it. You just listen to them talk.
Apple's idea of a big experiment was having a woman do the play-by-play, which, to my knowledge, has not yet been done in Major League Baseball. It's definitely a sexist man's sport. So they had. Color was done by a former player who wasn't really, nobody was very confident yet. And that's okay. You kind of expect that. Although you also expect them to do a lot of rehearsals. They should have been doing all summer doing play-by-play.
When a pro
games.
goes, for most major networks, my understanding is when a pro goes from being a football player to being an announcer, there's 6 to 18 months of them getting trained.
Right.
It's a hard. It's not like they just come out of it and start talking about it.
And it's even harder for the play-by-play folk. I'm going to say folk, even though they're guys. I know, I have good friends who do play-by-play, and I have good friends who are coming up in play-by-play. Most of them end up going to Syracuse, because they have a very good school where you can learn play-by-play. And then you do the same thing the ball players do. You go to single-A ball. You go to double-A ball. My friend, who's the son of Hank Greenwald. Hank Greenwald was the Giants announcer for decades. His son wanted to get into this, went to Syracuse just like Hank did, and has been working his way up. And at the same time, he's doing play-by-play in the single-A ball. He's selling the ads. He's sweeping out it is a grueling years process, and he still hasn't made it to the majors. It's been more than 10 years. So it takes time.
We see this all the time when we're doing live streams with corporations, and they want their seat-level people to do the show, or a marketing person do the show. And I'm like, why don't we get an announcer? I think that we could, let's call Soledad O'Brien.
Yeah.
Let's call Leo. Let's call somebody that we can have that has done 1,000 of these, because it takes 1,000 of these to get good at it. And it's just because you have to move the understanding of what you're doing from your frontal lobe to your lower brain. And that just takes time, so that things are just coming out of your mouth while you're watching, and it just is the proper thing. And it's really hard, and I think they underestimated it.
I think the big disappointment here is that if you're doing this through an app where you can do anything you want as a content creator, why are you just simply trying to replicate the TV experience? Are you saying that the way that sports is being broadcast on television is it can't possibly be improved upon? And I think we talked about this before a couple of weeks ago, where I would love it if they simply said, we're going to have 4 different commentary tracks depending on what you want. We will get a long time whoever has the radio experience in that local market will get the home team. Whoever has radio experience in the opposing team's market will get another feed. need. We will have a minimal talk sort of thing where someone just says, and that says two balls, two strikes, and now it's Ferguson coming in to replace the left-hander, because it's like. The number of times where I'm watching a lot of women's college softball on YouTube, because I came across, again, the algorithm recommended like a random broadcast, and I just love it, not only because the level of athleticism and the level of play is so high, but also because they're not trying to razzle dazzle. This is like a college a TV station, and they just like give you the information you need. They give it to you in a way that's pleasant, but it's not like there's no like, and now let's have some wanging guitars, as the pictures change. It's like, no, you can hear people shout in the background. That's fine. Give me silence. Let me have my own experience.
We did a test with golf where it was for VR, and you could just watch the clean aperture, nothing on the screen. And you could turn the announcer on and off, where you just listen to the crowd and everything else. Yep. And then it put the scoreboard on the other side. So you just look over and see the scoreboard, see what the leaderboard looked like.
That's apparently what they did at the Masters.
Like, it was just so great.
In our chat room, user 8827 said the Masters live stream was great this year. You could turn off the commentary. It was just the sounds of the golf course, the birds, the winds, the crowds, and the sound of the swing.
Their app was actually pretty interesting. So the Masters had an app out that was running during it yesterday, it was 2 days ago, and they let you look at groups of holes as well. So you could just go, I just want to watch where this is. Now, I didn't see any place where and you could also go back and look at the last time a Tiger Woods or whatever was swinging. You could just follow along and look at all of their hits. So it was really interesting, to put that together. They had a little bit of a, they were playing it safe. So they did this thing where they had 10-second segments, which means that there's a big delay every time you change feeds. But outside of that, it was a pretty interesting approach to a sport. And I think golf in general has been doing, because there's so much time to do other things. It is. I think it's innovated a lot. RNA, that does the Open in the UK, has been doing like live streams to everyone at the location for over a decade.
Now, I will say the video is great. To watch it in 4K, and I mean, that was really nice. So maybe the announcers are new. I don't know where they came from. Just maybe it's going to just take a little time for them to settle in. I have to say, I'm often very dissatisfied with play-by-play announcers in Major League Baseball and NFL. Some of these people are terrible. I guess it's like getting a good quarterback or a great pitcher. They're few and far between, and when you're the Vince Scullys of the world, just don't come along all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I
think
that you
understand the value of silence.
Yes, there's a rhythm to play-by-play.
Well, I think that there's a lot of. I mean, I know that for me, when I watch a football game, there are certain people that I'll watch just because they're calling the show. Like I watch a Steeler game, obviously, and I'll put up with whatever shows up as an announcer, but. If on a Sunday, if I feel like watching a game, I just look where Tony Romo is.
Romo's great because
or Chris Collinsworth.
Played recently. I'm not a fan of Collinsworth.
Oh, I like him. It took me a while.
Yeah,
I didn't like him at first.
He's no Al Michaels. That's the problem, is that there are these greats, and maybe we're just used to them. So maybe that's all it is what we're.
Well, I don't think that's his role. I think those are two different roles, because Al Michaels is really calling it.
Play by
Chris
play.
Collinsworth is color. So he's he it's a different approach to it. But I love that Tony Romo gets so excited, and then
he knows what he's talking about too, which really helps.
Yeah, you're fresh out of the system, and I mean that's what John Madden
that's right.
Pioneered.
He was great too. Although I know people, my wife, who hated him. So again, it's a very personal thing. The reaction, as one would expect from fans and from sports talk, was pretty negative. But some of it's because one of the games had a female play-by-play announcer, and that's very uncommon. I think I was watching. I haven't seen. I don't know if you've seen the new Adam McKay show on HBO, Winning Time, about the LA Lakers of the '80s. But Chick Hearn's in there, of course, the great LA Laker play-by-play guy, and he's kind of a jerk. And when he gets a partner who's going to, well, I won't. No spoilers. I won't tell you what happens to the partner eventually. But he says, okay, see this hand? When it's a fist, you stop talking. Partner's doing the color.
Yeah.
You stop talking. And he goes all the time right in the middle of the you stop talking. But Chick Hearn was a legend. There's a legend, but he doesn't come off very well in that show. I think I liked Madden a lot. I really liked Madden a lot. Yeah. Anyway, Apple, I don't know where they would go to get somebody better. I mean, everybody, is taken. I don't know if there aren't any free agents.
Again, I think that they just have to work out, and look at what their value proposition is. We did some parallel streams. We've done like second year experiences where we bring people in. It's just a different format. Like we don't even try to call the show. We just let you. It's like sitting around with a bunch of pros that are people who used to play the game, all sitting around talking to each other about the game is really fun. And that's just one of the audio tracks. It can just be like you could literally take the two teams and just put the players from both sides sitting in there just talking about the game. And there's a lot of people. I would listen to that because these are people who actually were on the ground at that level talking about like what they're noticing or, oh, that guy was always this way, or look at what he's doing with his leg. I would never do that. He can't pick up your leg when you're swinging, and they're just, going back and forth, and you get true, like real, no, I don't know, true, but you get the feeling of inside baseball.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a hard thing to do. I'm not, I would never attempt it.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, just the commentators who know the relationship between the catcher and the umpire, who says, who know what the catcher is doing to that specific umpire to make the strike zone a little bit bigger. That's the sort of stuff that makes you into a huge fan of a commentator, as opposed to just the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like these guys were reading. You always, one of the things, I've spent a lot of time in play-by-play booths. You have statisticians, you have helpers, especially in broadcast television. You have lots of people who are giving you cards and with stats on them. And you could tell the announcers they were just getting fed the lines. They were just reading the lines the whole time. That's fine. But I want some insight.
I think, again, this is the first time they're going to do it every week for a while. So they're,
I'll watch it again.
I'll judge them more. Like I might come back in 12 weeks and see, like, okay, now where are they? Did they do anything?
Yeah.
And even the first season may be hard. I mean, the whole first season it's really hard to change gears in the middle. So it may be one of those things like they're going to learn a lot, and then next year will look a lot different.
Yeah. And is it 4K? I think it is. It sure looks like.
I think that it's actually sourced in 1080 and it's getting scaled up. I don't think that. I don't think that it's for actual 4K. I would be excited if it was, and I think that that's where Apple, what this provides is a weekly platform for Apple to go to 4K, for Apple to go to high frame rate. For Apple to go to 8K high frame rate, so you could, Apple can play with all these things because all the TVs are all 120, right? And so it's, it's just a matter of releasing a new Apple TV that can do it.
Yeah.
And then Apple could put out, so that we may be seeing them just experiment and then, oh, by the way, here's 8K, because that would be really hard for, I've seen a lot of sports at 8K 120 and I've seen baseball at 8K 120. And I can tell you that once you see it, it's really hard to go back. Like it is because it just looks like a window, like right in front of you. And it's amazing. And so like, I'm not proposing that films should be 20, they should stay at 24.
Yeah.
But live events at 8K 120s, and now they have a platform to do it with, and all they got to do is put the cameras out there.
Yeah. It did crash too, by the way, in the middle of
I didn't see that. I guess I saw people talk about it, but I didn't see it
either. Yeah. Because I was watching the replay where it did not crash, so maybe a lot of people were watching.
I jumped on it live, and I as a person who does live, anytime someone does something for the first time, I kind of expected it to crash. I expected like a long wait, and so when it popped right up and it was playing well, I was like, they did a pretty good job. Those guys must know what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. What a surprise! I think on balance, you're exactly right. This is a great opportunity for Apple and to do something interesting. So it's worth it, and I'll be watching again every week because I think the picture quality, the graphics do make it fun, and you can always turn the sound off if you want, or pull up the radio if you want the play-by-play from the homers.
The problem is, I think that with streaming, we put so much buffer into it, you would be hearing what happened like 30 seconds before.
Oh yeah. In fact, I had that question on the radio show: how do I synchronize? And what I would used to do is I would pause my TiVo on the back crack and then wait till TuneIn caught up, and then press play. and then
you got them all
because
synced.
TuneIn was really delayed as well, so it was actually audio was actually behind the video on TuneIn. That probably would. I don't know. I'll have to try it. I'll let you know.
Funny.
I'll let you know. Let's see what else is going on. 0-day exploits, which were found in and fixed in Monterey, have still yet to be fixed. We reported this last week, and it's still the case, yet to be fixed in Big Sur and Catalina. I wonder if we're going to see updates for those two, or if Apple's just going to really say, you need to be using the latest version. And if you can't, as I couldn't on my 2014 iMacs, guess what? We've got these fine Mac Minis and Mac Studios. I think you're going to love them.
A $679 security update. Okay.
It is the case that because Apple hasn't announced new hardware in, weeks, that the Apple press is going crazy over these leaked images of a 35-watt dual USB-C power adapter. Oh, my God. Okay. Wow.
Again, allow me to give you a couple of Amazon links to several chargers of that capacity.
Yeah. But these are from Apple. These are from Apple. Unlike Apple's current 20-watt charger, foldable prongs. It's just amazing. Apple's. This is, to me, a testimony of how much Apple has captured people's attention. And if they just is a possibility they're going to release a new charger.
Well, I think the issue is that
crazy.
A lot of us try to buy other things. And I have third-party stuff, but a lot of us buy third-party accessories, and they're all a little. Almost
Anker
always
makes
a little wonky.
So what these are probably is using
makes good ones.
Yeah. They're using the gallium nitride technology that Anker and others are using, which means you can get, PD high wattage power delivery on USB-C in a small package, and that to me looks like kind of what this might be.
So I think people get excited though because it's kind of like there's lots of iPhone adapters that do HDMI and power and everything else, but we've all decided just to use the Apple ones because the other ones are all wonky.
Yeah,
they're all there's some wonky problem with them all the time, and so I think that a lot of times people get excited about it because they're like, oh, finally we'll just get we'll get one that just works and it just ties into the ecosystem.
I just think that this is what we get when we're looking at like the Apple fan base, which is, oh my God, new Apple product, oh my God,
new charger,
and there was
new chargers are here.
I saw the excitement like about headlines like, oh, breakthrough change to upcoming iPhones. Like you really went with that headline for a new charger, and of course no one's going to get it free with the iPhone. It's going to be a product, but it seems like an odd thing for Apple to be making a product that's so well covered by third parties, probably just as well but for like $20 less. But at the same point, this is one of my complaints about when Apple decided to stop including chargers with phones. It's really, really important to know that the consumer has at least one charger that is absolutely safety rated. That is not like a knockoff charger they bought at a drugstore. That as soon as you throw it into a situation that is not completely nominal for U.S. line current, you could have a fire hazard for a device that will often be plugged in and then left to its own devices, so to speak, for hours at a time unobserved. It's not as though people need to buy 50 or 60 of these chargers over the course of the iPhone. So if they walk out of there spending an extra $50 for one charger that they know is going to work, as Alex says, is going to be able to fast charge the device safely, but also is least likely to start a fire, I think that's peace of mind worth paying for.
Apple's very careful. Activation lock, of course, keeps people from stealing iPhones. They're very careful about making sure that an iPhone or an iPad, when it transfers to a new owner, it's been released by the previous owner, and I understand why they do that. Apparently, though, it's causing problems for some retailers who take back AirPods. They are not, they remain linked to the previous owner's iCloud account even after a factory reset. It's kind of like the activation lock for an iPhone or an AirPod. Apparently, one refurbisher of AirPods, GoTRG, has a stockpile of 30,000 AirPods over just the course of the past few weeks. The chief sales officer says told Business Insider the issue affects about 8 in 10 AirPods that come in through the company's facilities. If you get one of these AirPods and you try to open it up, you bought one and you try to open it up on your iPhone, you'll get a pop-up message that says AirPods mismatch. The earbuds of your AirPods are linked to a different Apple IDs, possibly because one of the earbuds is mixed up with someone else's AirPods. And there isn't really any good solution. So they've actually been unable to resell these AirPods, often returned through retailers like Walmart. I guess it's going to be up to Apple to figure this out. Patrick Wardle, who does the Objective-C, very useful tools, says he thinks it might have been set up on purpose by Apple as kind of a activation lock. The main way, of course, is to avoid this, to have the original owner, just like with your iPhone and your iPad, unlink it from your iCloud account before you recycle this. But most people do not do this. Yeah. I think Apple might well say this is a feature. This is intended.
It's also certainly makes it more difficult, makes people more wary of buying things on the secondary market.
Right.
I mean, remember a time where it used to be. You used to be able to buy a secondhand iPhone without really worrying that much about it, even if you knew that you're not buying a stolen product. Now, what are the chances to know that, look, this person has definitely deactivated the phone. This is definitely I can definitely attach it to a new iCloud account without getting a screen saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, return this to so and so." I'm not necessarily thinking that Apple's doing this deliberately, but I think that that's a factor in how much they think that, oh my God, we absolutely have to we need to cancel the Mac Pro project. We need everybody on this relinking old AirPods problem solving.
Apple intentionally doesn't have any way that you can solve this with an iPhone or an iPad. There's no website you can go to saying, "Hey, I bought this iPad and I can't get in because it's linked to somebody's account. Can you release it?" I have been told by various Apple employees at retail that you can bring it into the Apple Store, and if you can prove ownership, that they can unlock it, but they do it through a website now. But that website is not open to the public, obviously. It's only Apple geniuses who can do that. Yeah, it's to avoid theft, and it certainly was effective. Remember, before Activation Lock, there was a very brisk market in stolen iPhones.
They've taken all the fun out of it. Like all the fun out of stealing your Apple products.
Not good anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But AirPods, maybe there should be a way to kind of release them. I don't know.
Particularly if you hard dock it to a device that is known to Apple, so that you can say, well, okay, we will let you reassign this to this new iCloud account, but of course there's going to be a record that that AirPods with this serial number has been found and is now being used by this Apple user. Maybe that's a compromise.
The hard part is that even at the level of a laptop, if it's stolen, you're never getting it back. Like, the thing is, you just can't get the police to even act on it. So something like an AirPod, no one's going to go after them. So
no, that's true.
The only way you can do it is stop it, because it's not going to rise to the level of we're going to do anything about this. And I think that's the challenge. You have to make it hard.
It can be enough to know that, yes, someone who's living on your floor of the dorm took it, or one of your roommates or one of your kids took it and is not owning up to it.
In my case, it's actually my kid, because for some reason, Henry, when I gave him my AirPods, renamed it to some other person's name, and I saw it on my Find My. I said, "Henry, did you lose your AirPods?" He said, No, that's me. I just want to use a funny name.
Now you know his secret Instagram.
Yeah.
Now you know his secret TikTok. Yay.
Yeah. He calls himself Chicago Dave. So I'm looking, I'm seeing.
Is he a poker hustler?
It gets him in his groove.
I don't know what it is. I'm looking and I see Chicago Dave's AirPods, and I'm thinking, I called Henry. I said, "Well, who's Chicago? Did you lose your AirPods?" He said, No, that's me. Chicago Dave. Call me Chicago Dave.
Either a gambling hustler or he's coming up with his own line of barbecue sauces.
Yeah, maybe.
The funny thing there is that I look at my amplifier or whatever that I have in my house, and I just saw a name that I didn't recognize. And I just took it off the internet. Like, I just took it off I just said, this device. And my daughter came in like 5 minutes later. She said, "Can you put me back on the internet?" I'm like,
do this.
Yeah, I was like, when did I turn you off? And she goes, "You just did." And I was like, "Oh, that's your name."
Who that is.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but way back when Henry was on MacBreak Weekly, he was back in we were at Scott Bourne's studio, and I interviewed him. He was like, I don't know, 12 or 13. And we were talking to him. I said, "Do you have a Twitter account?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Is it Henry Lepore?" He says, "No, it's Ray Danger." Ray Danger has been on Twitter since 2008, and that's my son right there. He follows me. Henry's a strange fellow. Strange. Anyway. Oh, there is a Chicago Dave, apparently. He's an old college friend of Stan's. I don't know. That's from American Dad.
South Park?
The American Dad, yeah. I don't know if Henry watches American Dad. I'll have to ask him.
Okay.
Maybe that's where Chicago Dave. Now explain where Ray Danger came from. Apple has restored the Navalny app to the App Store. Google did it. So both Google and Apple had apps that were created by supporters of opposition critic Alexei Navalny, who was first poisoned, recovered, and now is jailed by the Putin government. When the elections were coming, Russia said to both Google and Apple, take down that app. They did. Google put it back shortly after the elections. Apple has just now reinstated the app into its store.
And to make sure we all mentioned that the government was actually threatening Apple and Google employees who were inside Russia, basically saying that the story was detailed last month about how as soon as Google's employees found out about pressure to remove this app, they moved that Google employee to a hotel outside of her home, outside of her office, and then the next day a knock on the door of the hotel was a police officer saying, "Hi, we're wondering how your work on removing that app is." So they were threatening employees on the ground. That's one of the reasons why Russia and other countries have these laws that say that if you're going to be operating, you have to have a local office and local employees.
Somebody we can arrest.
Right. But it is interesting that Google reinstated it, looks like pretty much as soon as the elections were over, whereas Apple only did it recently. I don't know that means anything, but that is interesting.
I think it was after Apple got their employees up, like the last one.
I would guess the Apple employees are gone now. Yeah, I would guess.
But I think once they were extracted, I think that they were.
We should point out, you do have an option. Just say, no, we're not going to have employees in country. And then if Russia says, okay, then you can't. Apple stopped selling iPhones in Russia right after the Ukraine invasion.
Well, I think that Apple or many corporations in Russia is probably a long way away. This is becoming untenable.
Yeah. Let's take a little break. Our show today brought to you by Expressvpn. Expressvpn is the VPN I use and recommend. And it is really important for three different reasons. Security, of course, privacy, absolutely, and the ability to watch, programming that is regionally blocked, like, say, Netflix UK, if you watch your Doctor Who episodes. Well, if you've ever thought, oh, I'm private, I'm using the browser's incognito mode, the private browsing mode, here's a little eye-opener for you. Read the fine print when you go into the private mode browsing. That's not private. In fact, really, it's only private from other people in your house. That's the real point of it. When you search on Google, Google knows it's you. When you use their incognito mode to browse to other sites, Google knows where you're going, and so does your ISP. The real way to stay private is to use ExpressVPN. Incognito does not mean invisible. ExpressVPN does. When you're using ExpressVPN, you are automatically using one of their IP addresses, not yours, to browse the net, which that IP address shared by other ExpressVPN users cannot be tracked back to you because ExpressVPN does something many VPN services do not do. It does not log. It does not keep track. It does not know that you're using it right now. In fact, I know this because ExpressVPN uses something they call Trusted Serve. I read a write-up on it on Bleeping Computer a couple of months ago that I was very impressed with. The trusted server is wiped, cannot write to the hard drive, and the entire system, it's running on a custom Debian installation is wiped regularly, like every day, so that any record of your visit is completely gone. It never was made, and even if it was, it does not survive. It's really, that's their commitment to true privacy. Vetted by independent third parties, PricewaterhouseCoopers, so you know it works. They've vetted both the trusted VPN, trusted server technology, and the privacy policy. They say, yep, it works as advertised. Expressvpn is easy to use. They've got apps for everything, including many routers. You can put Expressvpn on your router. And by the way, Expressvpn is so fast. They have 160 locations in 94 countries all over the world, and they invest in their infrastructure. So it's fast enough to watch HD video. No one will complain if you're running your entire household through ExpressVPN. They won't even know, but you will. You'll know they're safe, they're secure, they're protected. You can even put it on your smart TV. So, ExpressVPN, bottom line, best way to protect your privacy, your security online right now. If you really want to go incognito, protect your privacy, secure yourself with the #1 rated VPN, expressvpn.com/MacBreak. You get an extra 3 months free when you sign up for a 1-year plan. That's the best deal. No, it's not free because you don't want a free VPN if they're not charging you. Believe me, they're making money some other way. expressvpn.com/MacBreak. expressvpn.com/MacBreak. Please use that address so they know you saw it here. And thank you, ExpressVPN, for your support of MacBreak Weekly. NSO Group added again senior EU officials targeted with Israeli spyware now. Oh, but wait, we don't sell this to anyone besides good people. Good people. Reuters reporting that senior officials of the European Commission were targeted last year, including 2 EU officials. Didier Reynders, who is a senior Belgian statesman, European Justice Commissioner since 2019. 4 other Commission staffers also targeted. The Commission became aware of the targeting following messages issued by Apple to thousands of iPhone owners in November telling them they were targeted by state-sponsored attackers. If you get that message, take it seriously. This was, we reported this when it happened. It was the first time Apple had ever sent a mass alert like this. Good on Apple for catching it and reporting it. I guess there's not much else to say about that except these guys are supposedly gone, but maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe. I remember coming across an article, I think in the Financial Times, saying that they're being sued by a bunch of people, which means that there's a lot of different discovery happening in the United States Supreme Court and in the London court system. And one of them was that the private equity valuation of the company is essentially zero, or essentially valueless. So you got to wonder. This must be like when like the German rocket research team broke up after World War II. That they're
that's right. Down. Who got Werner von Braun? Our German scientists, our Nazi scientists are better than your Nazi scientists. Yeah.
Paperclip 2, Clippy.
Yeah.
Operation Clippy.
Yeah. What was that from The Right Stuff? I think it was. Our Nazis are better than your Nazis.
It was from The Right Stuff.
It was The Right Stuff.
Our Germans. I think our Germans are better.
But we knew they were Nazis, yeah. Apple Business Essentials are now available for small businesses. This is something that was in beta, is now public. According to Apple's newsroom, thousands of small businesses in the Apple Business Essentials beta reported significant time savings and renewed ability to focus on their mission. Device management, 24/7 Apple support, and iCloud storage.
I think it's a good step that's like halfway between what we had before and Jamf. It's like it's.
In fact, Jamf says, "Hey, well, we're thrilled that they're doing this. This is an adjunct to what we already do because they do a lot of management stuff." Yeah, it doesn't seem.
It's mostly device management that people are going to win from that.
Right. The Apple Support app has been updated with support for Business Essentials customers with Apple Care Plus, so check that. And there is, we had mentioned before, Tap to Pay on iPhone, which is coming later this year. And Apple has some new partners in that. Lightspeed Commerce and New Store. Okay, so you can. This is so you can, as an iPhone owner, accept payments.
Right.
Kind of like your Square.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Square only without an external device.
Without any other external device. Tap to Pay on iPhone will work with contactless credit and debit cards from leading payment networks.
I think that we're
Adyen. I'm probably saying that wrong. Adyen is going to offer Tap to Pay. I'm not sure what Adyen is.
I think we're just going to get to watch this over the next couple of years. Apple just,
You've wanted them to be a bank, like just
I know,
do
I'm
financial.
I'm not saying that I wanted to. I just think that they will.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the way to do it is to do it exactly the way you're doing it here, which is just keep on adding some before. And then when you step over to being the bank, it was like a little step. It wasn't a jump or a jog or a flight. It was just like, oh, and now we're going to, because you're almost there. I mean, you're just so close right now.
DuckDuckGo has shipped their new browser. You know them as a search tool, but there is now DuckDuckGo for Windows, Mac, and Linux, based on Google's Chromium, but it is de-Googled, of course, and has built-in privacy protections, private search, tracker blocking, website encryption, HTTPS everywhere, and email protection. So I haven't tried it, but it's based on Chromium, so it'd be probably a good alternative for people who want to use Chrome but don't want to give up their privacy.
It's nice to have a one-step recommendation for people, because the plugins that you need to have in any Chromium or Safari browser in order to get those kind of protections, it's a lot more than a lot of people are willing to deal with. If you're even if they know that privacy is something they need to protect, it's like how much trouble are they willing to go through, and also how much trouble are they willing to go through on a day-to-day basis accessing websites. So that's why it's great to have this one company that we kind of trust doing this one thing. We can say, well, look, if you try, it's at least have two different browsers on your desktop, one that you use by default, which is privacy oriented, and then if there's anything that doesn't work with that, fine, drop back into Safari.
Yeah. Wait a minute. It is. I'm sorry. I apologize. On the Mac, it is not Chromium based. It uses WebKit.
Yeah.
So this actually might be a really good alternative if you want to use WebKit. You want to use Safari, but you want to use a more private version of it. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay. So good. And I'm very nervous about Chromium completely dominating the world. Through Google Chrome and its adjuncts, and so it's not. I use Firefox just because I want a little more diversity. This is another way to get some diversity into the ecosystem. You're not using Chrome. DuckDuckGo for Windows is coming soon. I'm sorry, it's not out quite yet. Mac first. Came out today. Apple TV has made a deal with Tom Hanks' Playtone. Did you see Greyhound? It was a really, really good dramatic movie. I liked it. The story of a World War II anti-submarine boat captained by Tom Hanks. Apparently, they're going to make a sequel to Greyhound. It's in development. Finch was the other movie they got from Playtone, and I thought
Finch was. I thought Finch was better. I thought it was good.
Oh, really? I loved Greyhound. Finch, I thought was all right. You like Finch,
fun.
But you have kids. I think kids probably love Finch.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be a great buy for their for like a documentary style like non documentary style content, because Playtone's buying a lot of books, a lot of like biographies, a lot of historical books. So that's just, it's a pretty good deal. It's a pretty good face. And it's also Tom Hanks is not going to get into trouble for content.
Right. He's a safe bet. Actually, this might be kind of the fallout we were talking about with Apple winning an Oscar for Coda. Hanks had done Greyhound for Sony Pictures and Finch for Universal. Apple bought them. This time, Playtone's going to make it as an Apple original film, and it'll be available only on Apple streaming. Apple is also tapped Hanks as executive producer, actually a show he'd been working on called Masters of the Air. You remember he was a fan of was it Brothers in Arms? What was
Band of
Brothers?
Yeah.
Really great.
He was one of the. I think he came out of doing Saving Private Ryan and just wanted to really dig into that. And that
so this
incredible series, by the way.
This is must see. Band of Brothers. He's not in it, but he produced it. I don't think he'll be in this either. He's executive producer, Masters of the Air, a World War II epic 10-part series about the 8th Air Force. He did the Pacific after the Band of Brothers, which was not as good as Band of Brothers. But Masters of the Air wrapped filming late last year. Budget in excess of $200 million for the 10-part series. Premiere date yet to be announced, but Apple TV also will have the exclusive on that one.
And I wonder if he knew if that was a. I guess my question is whether that was something he knew was going to be Apple TV or they sold it to them later. And the reason for that is that the approach to shooting will be much bigger if you know you have a big budget.
Yeah.
There's different ways you'll approach it, and you can start to see some of that with some of the Apple content. Is that they are when they know they're shooting it with Apple and Apple put the money into it, the fit and finish is higher than when they.
Did any of you watch Severance? Ben Stiller's series on Apple TV?
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh my God! Well, just finished, just wrapped, and it was at first it's so claustrophobic. I wasn't really getting into it, but by the end and the way they ended, whoo! And by the way, it's very frustrating because they ended kind of in the it's one of these things they do now in the middle. You got to wait for season 2. And I'm biting my teeth, my nails until season 2 comes out. So that's worth watching. I think that's a good show, different but good, interesting.
Yeah, this is becoming kind of a factor. I was just the other day it was announced that there was a really you're familiar with the graphic novel Nimona. It's a really cool graphic novel. Came out like 5 or 6 years ago. A animation studio associated with Fox picked it up to make it into an animated feature. Then Disney bought Fox, and suddenly Disney was like having problems with a lot of the content because there is like a same-sex romance inside it. It is for like kids and teens, but it's just it's a fairy tale, and two of the characters happen to be men who were in love with each other, and they kiss. And Disney was saying, "Ooh, we want to tone that down." And for this and another bunch of reasons, like it was clear that Disney was kind of putting it into like the bin, and then Netflix, of course, picked it up, and they're probably gonna have a big success with it because it is like it's in the past 5 or 6 years, it's become a classic. So if Apple and other streamers can take advantage of mistakes that other streamers are making, that's probably a pretty good deal. It's probably something that would attract someone like a Tom Hanks, saying that we're not going to have problems with super conservatives being upset that we're putting the Apple TV name to, again, people who are being in love with each other.
And I'm sure, though, Tim Cook, being the best-known CEO in the world, is also reluctant to make Apple TV be kind of the place for gay dramas either, right? You don't want to kind of get that label. But
well, they have a lot of content in there already that's leaning that direction. So I don't think they're that afraid of it.
Okay,
I'd be surprised if that was a concern. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there's definitely a fair bit of content actually that's there. So I don't think that they're afraid of that.
10-episode workplace comedy starring Maya Rudolph will debut Friday, June 4th on Apple TV. It's called Loot. We've been over the last few weeks. There's been a lot of Apple TV stories. They're cranking out stuff like crazy. All of a sudden, good for them.
Yeah, I'm glad they're working with Maya Rudolph. She's incredible, and in a more enlightened world, in a more meritocratic world, she would have already been too expensive for Apple TV like 5 years ago.
Apple TV also has a podcast, a true crime podcast, because that's really what podcasting is all about, is true crime. Run Bambi Run, an Apple original. Laurie Bembenek was a Milwaukee police officer and Playboy Club bunny before being arrested for the murder of her husband's ex-wife. Now, that's a show you can't miss. Really?
I do think that there's Apple. None of the streamers have really taken advantage of the potential convergence in between podcasts and different social networks and just extras. There's so much there, and Disney kind of did it with Mandalorian, where they gave us kind of an overproduced, underinformed behind the scenes. But I think that there's no reason. I mean, you're not trying to vie for time,
right?
And it's not, in the grand scheme of things, the behind the scenes is not that expensive. And I just feel like they really missed the boat, because if you're trying to have people think, oh, this is worth it, and they put out between all the I mean, you could literally do Mandalorian, and every week between Mandalorian break up how the last season got done, just to fill time, because people would stick around, that like it, And so I think that there's just tons of extra content there that is a 1,000th cost per hour than the actual content that is just extra content that people are watching.
Yeah. They've done behind the scenes for All Mankind and Foundation. They have a podcast for The Problem with Jon Stewart. I don't know if it's the same show or a different show. The Line,
the big thing is that,
Wild Things, and Hooked. So it's not their first podcast.
Yeah, I think that there's just so much that can be done there, and especially when the sets are up. Like, for instance, I would be building extra content from those sets and those actors while while you have the whole production crew. We're going to do 2 or 3 minutes of something, or take the stuff we cut out, but also 2 or 3 minutes that is designed only for the online. And if you watch the regular show, you'll completely get a great experience, but you get all these extra little bits that they decided, oh, we're not going to put that. We're going to have, because you always have to cut. The pod race was like 22 minutes long when it was the first edit, and by the time it got to the film was 7 minutes. And I think that
where are those extra 15 minutes?
Or
inquiring
I'll say
minds want to know what happened.
22 is really long, but 11 was great. 7 was too short, in my opinion. So 11 there was an 11-minute version that was fantastic.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm sure there's a way to do that well, but oh my God, that's kind of one of my buttons, saying that don't if it's important, film it, and if it's important to this, you find out if 6 months later it still seems important, put it in the actual thing. Don't film something and then say that. Don't put me in a situation where like a movie later, 2 movies later, or like 5 episodes later, say who is that person and why did
no, I don't think you should.
Why do they seem so familiar? It's like
I agree with you.
As long as you're, yeah.
I think it should be a complete movie. Like, there shouldn't be things that you had to go out and get. It's just that there's always all these extra things. Like, again, the pod race is what it is. But if you, it would be great. One that's the biggest one that I've seen so recently has been the first Hellboy with the new actor, and I can't think of the last Hellboy. There's an extra in the DVD or in the Apple TV thing. There's an extra that's a different open that changes the meaning of the entire film. Yeah. Like it is like you watch it and you're like, whoa, like your brain just kind of opens up, like and they obviously they decided for whatever reason, for business reasons or for whatever, we're not going to do it that way. And so they had done everything and they got cut out of the movie, but they put it back in, and it is the biggest doozy, except for maybe like the end of Ronin. There's like there's a different ending, but those are like the 2 biggest ones. Like it just completely changes the whole movie.
You don't like that, Andy, when they do that?
I love that.
Well, so long as it's presented as here is a dumpster full of stuff that we threw out for very, very good reasons. We made choices every time that we cut one of these things. If you would like to see what Back to the Future might have looked like had Eric Stoltz retained the role as Marty McFly, great. Here it is. It's fun. We enjoy it. We're thirsty for more sometimes. But don't. I think it's a mistake when you're saying that our original idea was to make Marty actually always be from 100 years in the future, and he's the person who's always been like showing Doc like what to do and kind of manipulating him towards this thing because there's something that's going to happen in the year 3000, and we need time travel in the 1980s and 1950s to make it happen. Now at that point, I'm like, okay, but now you're basically complicating the main story. You're basically trying to create a divided timeline. Maybe part of it is because I've been burned by this like so many times on Disney and Marvel properties. But I'm saying that at some point you have to commit to this is what the story is. We're not gonna show you an apocalypse now. It's cool to find out that Martin Sheen and his crew like stole the surfboard from the Ranger Colonel, and now that there's a big thing where they're trying to find it again. But I kind of could done without knowing about that. It's a fun piece of footage. Always good to see more footage of Martin Sheen, but it's like, don't contaminate me with knowledge of, oh, actually between these two scenes in this perfectly structured and paced movie, there is this like 8-minute scene of garbage that is fun to look at, but that actually kind of takes away from the building drama and tension.
Yeah, I think that, like, again, in the Hellboy one, it was a perfectly good movie, and I enjoyed it by itself. Like, it didn't need, the new open, but the new open was like, oh, I won't even spoil it, but if you have the Apple TV one or you have the DVD or Blu-ray, you need to, if you haven't looked at the alternate open, you need to see it because it's the thing. Yeah.
I think that what it's really speaking to is like the super fan. Normal people want to see the movie as edited, as in the theaters. Or the TV show, but the super fans are like, give me all the extra stuff behind the scenes. Yeah. I can handle it. I can take it.
When you're doing a production, you're just generating enormous amounts of data, and you a lot of times for a lot of these big films now, they have behind the scenes shooting all the time.
Sure.
And they, and I think that Peter Jackson did a really good job before the Lord of the Rings of, giving us little tidbits of what's going on to get people excited about it. And I think that I just think there's such an opportunity to do, because again, there are so many things that we cut out of movies that I've worked on that we just decided for time, like there's only so much you can do into 2 hours and 10 minutes or whatever you've decided is the number. And, and that number, by the way, has to do with how much money you're going to make, because how many times can you turn the theater over, right? So the, you start going longer and you can get away with it for some films, but it can be, you can really cut a third of your revenue out of the opening weekend. And so that number is important. And so then you start you cut all the fat out, but then you start cutting muscle, and it would just be great if the muscle showed up somewhere. That's all.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of money on it, and it was all done.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
Sometimes not. Sometimes it's still just like the animatic version of it, which is still cool.
Well, there's different kinds. I mean, so if you shot a different opening and it didn't test well, I think that's of interest. If you shot 8 minutes and Francis says, yeah, that really slows us down, doesn't get us anywhere, throw it out, I still would want to see it, but I would want to see it after I saw the original.
Oh, no, absolutely. I don't think you should put it out ahead of time. I think you put it out 2 weeks later or a month later, or whatever. Like, give you time to watch it. But then you could just be trickling out all this extra little, these extra little bits. And again, even just the behind the scenes. I mean, there was so many hundreds and thousands of hours shot of SW1, Star Wars, the episode 1. And I had to go through some of it because I had to figure out where to put the pod racers in anyway, I had to put the pod racers in a place, and I had to figure out where they put them. And so I was looking at all the behind the scenes to kind of triangulate where all the pods went. And it was just the most fascinating thing. It's George Lucas and John Knoll walking around talking about shots.
Oh, yeah. You've seen stuff that none of us have seen.
I've seen.
Yeah.
I saw hours of that. I came hours and hours and hours looking for certain things, and I would just watch it. And real
fans want all
and
of
then
that,
take notes.
Right? I would like it all.
It is the best. Like, it is better than like that. Those hours that I spent watching to try to get the data that I needed was some of the most interesting. Like, it's a master's course in filmmaking, because you just get these kind of raw takes on, well, we're going to do this, and this is how this is going to work. And George, just asking questions, and John matter of factly just.
How come they have that on film? Oh, because they had a behind the scenes crew.
They had a crew follow George for SW1 for every moment that he interacted with someone. Like, it was. They have all that footage sitting there, and it was.
Did they ever release it? Of any?
There's little bits and pieces, like bits and pieces of it. But it could have been.
That'd be a documentary. Somebody needs to do that documentary. Oh, yeah. Probably George is stopping him, or Disney, or somebody.
I don't know.
Does George still own episode 1? I can't remember. No, Disney has it now.
No, Disney has it. Yeah. But it was. And you could do that with every film, and it's one person walking around. It was John Shank walking around behind him with a camera and shooting what's going on. It was almost never more than one person, and so you have all this data, to work with.
Hardcore fans love that stuff.
That's different. I absolutely agree with you on that point. It's my the only problem where I really wish that the director hadn't done that, or the producers or the owners hadn't done that, is when, like, my favorite example is probably Amadeus, where one of the things that makes that movie so brilliant is that you think that this is a battle between Salieri and Mozart, but it isn't. It's a battle between Salieri and God. Salieri is not angry with
Right.
Mozart. As far as Salieri is concerned, he made a deal with God when he was a little boy to give me this an amazing gift, and in return, not only he gave him just enough talent to be able to see genius in others, and also put Mozart like right next to God. Also made sure that Mozart would be inside Salieri's orbit, so you can see what a vulgar, uncouth, rude monster that he put this talent in instead of himself. So he's angry with God. But when you look at there was a restored version that's usually the one that you get if you buy a brand new DVD or Blu-ray, that also adds a few scenes where Salieri is attacking Mozart directly. One which he basically tries to blackmail Constanza, Mozart's wife, into, look, I'll help Mozart get this job teaching this kid, but you got to sleep with me. And that changes everything, because now he's why is he trying to hurt Mozart? Why is he trying to hurt his wife?
Doesn't he kill Mozart at the end effectively by?
No, he's killing God's creation. He's not like,
so he's not anti-Mozart, just
right. No, exactly. That's why. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about they filmed all these scenes. At some point when they're looking at the entire movie, they decided it doesn't just make the movie longer, but it also removes the focus.
Well, that one's complicated because it's based on a play, so there is in fact a canonical script for it, which they deviated from. Yeah. So, but that's what I'm talking about. As a viewer, I don't like it when later on I'm saying, "Oh, well, actually, we didn't tell you the entire story. Here's some stuff that was also happening between these two characters," and I've taken this with you on
in
that.
my mind.
It
This
changes
4-star
the meaning
movie
of
has gone down to 3 stars because that's very cheap and that's very tawdry.
Yeah.
I don't know what Salieri was up to right now, and that is so often what happens with the Star Wars movies, with the Marvel movies. It's like, okay, not only was I not informed when I was watching the actual movie itself, did I not know what was going on because I didn't see this other thing that I'm expected to spend an extra $8 a month or whatever to see. But also it changed. I walked away with a diminished, the stuff of this movie that I thought was very good, actually now I don't think was very good because you've made this really, really confusing. You've added this. Anyway, I just think that behind the scenes stuff is always great when you're adding more content to, just because you're saying, ooh, let's have extra scenes with these characters, they'll eat it up. Maybe people will enjoy that, but you're basically now watering down this what could have been a beautiful 2-hour, 10-minute movie and turning into like a 4-hour experience. And I don't want to see an experience. I want to see a movie.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about 10 to 12 week delays if you want to get a Mac Studio. Maybe we now know why. This just came in. Shanghai and Kunshan both locked down due to COVID-19. Brand new, as you know, COVID-19 restrictions in China, which means Pegatron, Quanta, and Compal have all suspended factory activities. That could have a lot to do. Pegatron makes 20 to 30% of all iPhones, and the new iPhone plant in India has not yet begun operation.
I think that this is the long effect of this is going to be diversification from China for a whole bunch of reasons.
Yeah, for sure.
Like this is like there's the fact that, and this is a really hard thing for China to be shutting that down. I mean, I know they're really committed to the zero COVID thing, but it's the issue that they're going to have is that everyone's realizing between the shutdowns as well as this, the concern that they're going to try to do the same thing that Russia's doing in Ukraine and Taiwan. It just doesn't, because what happens if you have to leave China? Like that's a real problem for a lot of these countries. Yep. And so this is just a preview to that problem. And I think that it's going to have all the companies looking at how they reallocate their resources.
Quanta makes MacBooks. It also makes Dell and HP laptops and others. 20% of its total notebook capacity is in Shanghai and has been shut down. Compal has also halted activities in Kunshan. They make iPads. So this could be. This is not yet built into those lead times. So,
the shutdown in Shanghai is pretty severe. There's a lot of people who are really going through very, very bad situations. I mean, we're not talking about businesses are shut down. People are being encouraged to stay indoors.
Oh no,
people are being trapped inside.
Yeah, they're welding the doors shut. Yeah. Yeah.
They're only getting supplies that are being provided to them by the government, and sometimes it's inadequate. Sometimes it's just very, very hard living inside Shanghai. So much sympathy.
All right, let's take a little break. Picks of the week, gentlemen, coming up next. First, a word from ZocDoc. You know, there's some really amazing doctors out there, but the only ones that matter are the ones who take your insurance, right? I mean, if you can't afford to go to that doctor, what good are they? With ZocDoc, you can focus on doctors who are in network. Find a doctor who can both take your insurance and is right for you. No more wasting time hunting down Aunt Shirley's cash-only chiropractor or the dentist your coworker recommended who's not taking new patients. No one knows what you're looking for in a doctor better than you, and no one's better at giving you the tools to find the perfect doctor than ZocDoc, Z-O-C-D-O-C. The people who created ZocDoc realized there were some major pain points in healthcare, and a lot of things weren't working. They said, we can do it better. They made booking a great doctor surprisingly pain-free. Now, this is a free app. Get it right now on your iPhone. It shows doctors who are patient-reviewed, which I think is fantastic. I think that's so valuable. You can also narrow it down to doctors who take your insurance and who are available when you need them. You can read up on local doctors, get verified reviews, see what other humans had to say about their visit. So when you go into that doctor's office, you are going to see somebody who's in your network, who gets you, that you know is right for you. You can go to ZocDoc.com right now, choose a time slot. Whether you want to see the doctor in person or do a video visit, just like that, you're booked. Find the doctor that's right for you and book an appointment that works for your schedule. Every month, millions of people use ZocDoc. It can be your go-to whenever you need to find and book a doctor. In this chaotic world of healthcare, let ZocDoc be your trusted guide to find a quality doctor in a way that's surprisingly pain-free. You know, you deserve that. With ZocDoc, you can get your docs in a row. Go to ZocDoc.com/MacBreak. That's probably the place to go. That way you can download the ZocDoc app for free and have it there all the time. Start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many will be available within 24 hours. ZocDoc.com/MacBreak. ZocDoc. ZocDoc.com/MacBreak. Download that app. Absolutely free. We thank them so much for their support. It's hard when you're a free product because usually, we like to say, and 20% off and stuff, but there's no 20% off free. Free is free. So make sure you go to that site so that they know you saw it here, ZocDoc.com/MacBreak. If you need incentive, you're doing it for us. Thank you. We appreciate it. Alex Lindsay, let's get a pick of the week.
All right, I got a free one for you, but everyone may not be able to get it. This is Reality Scan, and this is from Epic. Actually, they're owned by Epic now. So Epic bought them as part of. Epic is not only doing games, of course, and they have Unreal Engine, but they're building all the feeder systems that go into Unreal Engine. And so one of the things that they've purchased is this company called Reality Scan, which a lot of us knew about in the past. We've used it, for photogrammetry and so on and so forth. And now they're releasing an iPhone app. If you're listening to this, they said that the first 10,000 people that want to go to test flight and get it can be part of it. It came out last week, so I don't know how many are left. But what it does is lets you start to take photos. Here, let me show you. Let's see here. So if I cut to this is the app, and what I can do is you can see my little dude there, and I can start taking pictures, and you'll see it. It's kind of cool. It shows you in AR. You're seeing the photos.
That's neat.
That I'm taking pictures. So you get, and if you pull back, you can see where the photos.
It looks like a bunch of Polaroids.
Yeah, it's like shooting little Polaroids of our subject here. And we can keep on, and at some point, it's going to start giving us a preview of. What happens when I get to a certain level here is that
we want a 3D Rumsleg.
Yeah, exactly. This one will not produce it because I'm trying to just get it to.
Rom is unfortunately surrounded by switchers, but other than that,
yeah, exactly.
The valley of the switchers.
He has control of the switchers. He's taken the switcher room, so he will soon find his quarry.
Could be the trash compactor, though. I'm not sure.
Anyway, so what happens normally, and I don't know why something about me doing it the way I'm doing it.
You can't resist.
There we go. That's what I was trying to get.
Oh,
so here's what's cool about this is it starts saying, okay, I know where all this stuff is, and this is all like AR stuck to. You can see that it's stuck to the scene, right?
Yeah.
Now, what it is that the red areas say, I don't have enough data yet for that. The green areas say, I've got plenty of coverage.
So you want to take pictures of the red and yellows.
Yeah, you keep on wanting to cover it, and so
Turn
and
everything
as
green.
you add more, it adds more detail and says,
that's
okay,
so
well,
cool.
and you get, it's a really cool little app. And then what happens is that there's like a box there. Then I can go to inspect, and this is and this just shows you kind of a rough area. So you can go, there's a lot of this I don't need, or, I'm not interested in. So I can kind of pull this in. So I only want to build a model of that. Yeah. Like a little garbage mat. Now I'll show you another. So that was that. Then what that does is you export that to Sketchfab. So those boxes are just there to give you a guide of the area that you're working with. And then if you look at this is something I shot in my living room. And so this is the actual 3D model.
Wow, that's
and you can
really
see that they're
amazing. Wow.
Yeah, so it took like an hour for it to do this, but it is it's really detailed. So this is and this is the advantage of using photogrammetry as well as LiDAR. The LiDAR helps with all of that AR that we were just doing, but then the photogrammetry really takes over for the detail, but that guide is just super valuable of it showing you what's working and not working. And I just kept on looking at areas that were red or yellow and just kept on giving it information that I needed to do it. But if you look at these, especially if you start to look at the parts you want to look at are like the silhouette right here. That means that there's real geometry there. That's not like just a ball, with some stuff. That's actual, it's a really.
So
and then of course
Alex
you
can tell us straight AirPlay as well as everything else.
yeah,
You are just wow. Wow.
So anyway,
Just slipped that one in, didn't you? Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Nice.
So anyway, so that is it's a really cool little app, and if it's still available, if it'll be available, we'll probably do another pick when it's out.
Because it's
But
a
the first
specialized.
10,000
This is a fairly specialized thing. Not everybody's going to.
So there may be some spaces left, and maybe I don't know, maybe they're making up the 10,000. I don't know, but I would highly recommend playing with it. It's a really fun app, and you just get you get an account on Sketchfab, and you get this, and then it'll just upload them. Don't take any. I don't know where I'm not taking geometry of things that matter, or things that are important to be secret, because I'm putting it on Sketchfab. But I am. But as a test, this is going to be a big part of the future, is being able to generate this geometry from just a photo. And Apple has its own stuff. This reality scan is coming out, and what typically happens with Epic is they don't charge you for any of it, because their model is making people successful in the metaverse, right? So they're turning real objects into what you want to wear. Or not wear, but put in your scenes is important to them. So I think that they're just going to. I don't expect this to ever suddenly turn into something you have to pay for. So it's pretty slick little app.
Reality scan. There's a test flight, so you need to go to capturingreality.com.
Beta is full.
Yeah.
The beta is now full.
Is the beta full?
Oh well.
Oh, right. Well,
I think we mentioned this before, didn't we? I
don't think we.
I know
it came
I've
out
seen
last
this.
week.
I know I've seen this armchair before. So
Yeah.
Right.
Me too.
Maybe we talked about it last week. I don't know.
We might have filled it up last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you showed off the detail, because when I look at photogrammetry apps and the wonderful demo object that they put on the website, they put for manipulation. Sometimes the question is, okay, how much of that is actual 3D vertices based polygon detail, and how much is just simply that you caught the shadow when you took the image, the color, the light values off of that. Because then you look at the 3D object itself, and it's like, okay, there was actually no puckering in that seat. Okay, you didn't actually get that crack in that surface there. So yeah, that's very very encouraging. I gotta say you're influencing me, because yesterday I was working at one of my 2 or 3 favorite libraries that are not the Boston Public Library, and I find the great thing about like old libraries in New England is that there's always a back room that doesn't look like it's part of the public area, but it actually is. If you just ask the librarian, hey, where's the query page, and you find yourself in this oak infused like boardroom environment where they have like marble busts that like were donated by some dowager in 1917. And so as I'm working, I'm looking at this bust of Athena. I'm thinking, you know what? The Boston Public Library would probably not allow me to have direct access to like pull something down and put it on a table. But I bet these librarians would say, no, absolutely. No, sure. Let me get a ladder. And like that would probably be a good thing for photogrammetry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a Millennium Falcon sitting in the hallway in our office, and that someone built to really high res, and we're going to take it off. I'm talking to the person who made it, and we're going to take it off and do a test with this to see how far we can push it.
Wow.
To this, we'll talk about that when I do it. But this is the geometry. So this is like you can really.
Those are all the
you
voxels.
can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just polygons. I mean, it's just an incredible amount of data. You know, it's so, and that's obviously, when you look at it this way, you can see it's been decimated a little bit. So it's even doing it relatively efficiently, because otherwise it would all be, this would all be the same if it wasn't decimated. So it's decimated it down to what it thinks it needs for the detail. Anyway.
Very cool. Andy Anako is apparently an RSS queen. Go ahead.
I've been re-looking at some workflows I've been doing. Obviously, a lot of my work is keeping on top of like so many like feeds and sources to just in the morning find out that how is my afternoon going to be disrupted by the fact that something new happened that's totally throughout 3 weeks worth of research and work, and I have to talk about it in 5 hours. And so I've been reevaluating my RSS feed readers. And so I have 2 picks. One is sort of a revalidation of one of my favorite iOS apps, one of my favorite iPad apps, Reeder, Reeder. It's one of those apps that justifies having a really nice iPad, because it will just paste in the URL of whatever website you want to get the feed from. If there are syndication feeds from it will find them, make it very easy to say, we found 5 feeds. Which ones do you want to subscribe to, and what folders do you want to put them in to organize them inside the reader? Makes it so easy to quickly go through. Like every morning, my eyeballs are on about 500 at least stories every morning. It makes it really, really quickly to go between level 1, meaning here's a headline about some sort of a business deal that I don't care about. Scroll. Oh, here's a headline about some sort of technology, about non-invasive blood pressure reading. Like I actually want to see what that's about, and seeing like the first paragraph, and then realize that actually that is something interesting. Then going to the actual article itself to read the entire article, and then level 5, which is, this is so valuable that I want to like highlight this as something in the afternoon I really want to dig down to and take notes on. And so then putting it into whatever my bookmarks manager is, whatever my Pocket Reader is, even exporting it as a PDF, integrates with a whole bunch of other services. But on top of everything else, the iPad version works in such great harmony with the Mac version, always syncing through iCloud. So it really is almost exactly the same experience, but it is such a comfortable experience for, again, in the morning, I'm sitting on the sofa, and I'm just tapping and scrolling. I'm not yet at my sitting upright, using my spine and my back muscles and actually typing and working mode. The other recommendation was I also took the opportunity to look at other like total web-based readers, and I found out about iNoReader, INOREADER, which is an improvement on Feedly, which was my current service, because it has a free tier, so you can test it out very, very easily. Makes it very, very easy to ingest whatever your subscriptions are from Feedly or wherever else. But I like the fact that it has a lot more powerful features for taking those 600 news articles in the morning and automatically like bubbling some up to the top based on search criteria, based on conditions, based on authors, sending you alerts that, hey, something just came across you actually want to take a look at right now. Haven't really played that much with them that far. I've tried a couple of different things. I imagine that if I were using this for another couple of months, by the time we get into like June or July, a lot of the time that I spend glancing at stuff that I'm not interested in will be replaced by always having my attention focused on the really, really cool stuff. They have a lot of different membership levels. The free tier is like 100 feeds and not all the features. For something like $20 a year, you get they remove the ads. They give you a couple extra features. The premium version is the Pro, which is like $8 a month. That's where you get like all these like roll your own like alerts, roll your own like priorities, your own stuff that gets pinned to the top. I don't like it enough. The only place where it kind of falls apart for me is the desktop reader, and the device reader aren't nearly as good as Reader, REEDER. And that is, Reader is such a beautiful targeted to iOS, targeted to touch. It's not designed to be, well, we have to have an interface that will work well on a website, it has to work well on all these other different targets. I just really enjoy using Reader, so that's always going to be the focus of my reading. But it is a great tool. I think a lot of people forget that RSS, like site syndication, is an actual thing, and the reason why they don't like wind up spending a lot of time just covering a lot of different sources and getting a lot of different sources from different information is because it's just so hard to manage all that sort of stuff. But it'll take you a while to get into it, but eventually with a good app like Reader, you will find yourself not getting overblown by information, but just casting a wider net and getting more treasure.
Yeah, I've been actually a paid subscriber to InnoReader ever since Google Reader kind of went away, because it's very handy for me. Like you, I'm always scanning through stories. This is my tech news feed, and all I have to do is star a story, and it automatically goes to our pinboard. So it's a very fast way to do story triage for me. This is one of many modes. This is kind of the magazine view, but they have a lot of different views. Yeah, I think this is I agree. Reader is much more Mac, more Apple-y, but sometimes just the web. I need the web because I use a variety of different tools.
That's what disappoints me. Reader does interface with Feedly, so what I've been using, I've been trying to figure out a better way to integrate those two, because I still have a Chromebook. I still use it for a lot of stuff. There are times where I'm just not in front of a Mac or an iOS device. So I'm trying to make that a little bit less friction between those two surfaces. But like I said, the experience of reading on an iPad with Reader is so good nice. That I really want to keep that as the center of my experience.
Yeah, I think you're right. Absolutely. Two very good choices. Thank you, Andrew. Andy Ihnatko is on WGBH in Boston every week. Friday this week?
Friday, 12:30. Go to WGBHnews.org. I will not be in the library, but you can always go to that site to either stream it live or listen to it later, or any of the past shows I've done every week.
IHNATKO.com. Soon to be revitalized.
Looking to install the pipeline between people's wallets and my bank account. That's a long pipeline.
That's a good pipeline. Keep that pipeline flowing. That's what we have Club Twit for. Also, Mr. Alex Lindsay, officehours.global is the place to go every morning and really all day long for information about, well, it's almost impossible to categorize. It started being about streaming stuff and production, but now it's everything.
It's so much.
Yeah.
We're just wandering around. We spent an hour on last Friday, talking about gaff tape.
You're kidding.
No. We if you don't think we can spend an hour talking about gaff tape. Someone asked, do you think you can spend an hour about cable management? I'm like, we just spent an hour talking about gaff tape. We can
and the title?
We can spend an hour talking about Crafty.
On sticky issues.
Yes. So it's today we talked about phone, but it really became an iPhone discussion about phones in production, like how we use phones in production and how you can build content and rigs that we use and that type of thing. And then tomorrow we're actually talking about the app that I just showed. So the photogrammetry stuff is stuff we're going to cover. This and many other apps. This is just one of the things that we're going to talk about, but how photogrammetry really works and so on and so forth. And we'll have a discussion, answer questions, and it's a lot of fun.
Officehours.global, and you can join the conversation or just watch. There's a YouTube channel, but it all starts at officehours.global on the web.
You do want to find your way to Discord. Last week we shot a concert. It was a test concert in this test stage that I have, and so it's got all the lights and everything else, and we had the woman who cuts the shows for like the live shows in the concert, in an arena for like Metallica and Paul McCartney and others like that. And we had her calling the show from Omaha, Nebraska. So she's calling the show and we're cutting it locally. And we've got the audio being managed from Manila and the lights being managed from Delaware. Wow. And what we let everyone do is listen to the comms. So you just listen to her cut the show. Like, I need you to do this with the cameras. And it is a master's course on how to shoot a concert. And we didn't, I have to admit, in that case, because we don't know what we can do until we do it. So there was just like a post on Discord, like, hey, by the way, Marcia is cutting, and it was kind of like that Morpheus is fighting Neo, like, and suddenly the whole place just fills up, and everyone got to watch and listen to her cut the show. It was amazing.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
If you want to know more, officehours.global, and if you want to hire Alex, 090.me. Media. I'm sure Renee Ritchie will be back next week, youtube.com/Renee Ritchie. I hope you will as well. Members of Club Twit can join us in our Discord chat. We have our own as well. Lots of fun in there. Animated GIFs galore. All you have to do is go to twit.tv/clubtwit. You also get ad-free versions of all of our shows and access to the Twit Plus feed, which will probably this week feature the magical rising table. I believe we've already earmarked that for a special clip on our Twit Plus feed. Club Twit, $7 a month.
The walnut veneer pipeline has exploded. The studio is flooding with oak veneer. Keep your head above.
Twit.tv/clubtwit. We do this show every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. If you want to watch live, live.twit.tv. Chat live. Open to everybody at irc.twit.tv. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show available at the website, twit.tv/mbw. There's also a dedicated YouTube channel for MacBreak Weekly for all the video. And, of course, you can subscribe to audio or video on your favorite podcast client, and that way you'll get it automatically the minute it's available. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time. Now, back to work, because break time is over.
If you are looking for a midweek update on the week's tech news, I got to tell you, you got to check out Tech News Weekly. See, it's all kind of built in there with the title. You get to learn about the news in tech that matters. Every Thursday, Jason Howell and I talk to the people making and breaking the tech news, get their insights and their interesting stories. It's a great show to check out, twit.tv/TNW.